Premier League midfielder.
Well, speaking of midfielders, big news overnight. Moises Caicedo will have his Chelsea medical today after a British record fee worth £115 million for the midfielder was agreed with Brighton. Chelsea are understood to be paying an initial £100 million plus £15 million in performance-related add-ons. He'll sign an 8-year contract with the option of a further year, and Brighton have what we're told, significant sell-on clause. Right, Olivia, why were Chelsea so keen to get him?
Yeah, I think it was obvious Chelsea were very light in midfield. You know, actually having watched the Chelsea-Liverpool game yesterday, I thought Conor Gallagher had one of his best games for Chelsea. I could sit here and talk about how brilliant Enzo Fernandez was, and you saw him in a slightly more advanced role, which suits him way more. He was almost a little bit wasted in that defensive midfield role, and that was the one position Chelsea needed to strengthen in midfield. But that number 6 role, that defensive midfielder, was always so important. And just Caicedo, he's just absolutely brilliant. Just look at him in the Premier League last season. Top 2 for tackles, interceptions, passing accuracy to midfielders. You know, he's brilliant at breaking up play, starting attacks. I think only Manchester City's Rodri did that more times last season. So that are the levels we're talking about. Technically, on the ball, he's brilliant. I think in tight spaces as well. He's not scared to receive the ball in tight spaces. And I've said it once and I'll say it again. He is exactly the player Chelsea need in that squad, and he transforms that midfield. I think him and Enzo Fernandez, that partnership is arguably one of the best in the Premier League, and I think it's just a brilliant, brilliant signing.
And also, I know people will raise an eyebrow at the fee. Of course, you can't really justify 115 mil in any walk of life. But he's somebody that, if he does fill the void of N'Golo Kante, gives Chelsea what N'Golo Kante gave Chelsea, then that's definitely worth the money for Chelsea, because he is a player that unlocks other players. He brings out the best in Enzo Fernandez, another valuable asset to Chelsea. And that combo in midfield, like you touched on, would be one of the best in the Premier League. I know Nubade last week said that if Caicedo was to join Liverpool, they'd have the best midfield in the league. I think Chelsea can make an argument for that if Caicedo comes in and he does what we expect him to do.
When you say unlocking midfielders, I think, you know, like I say about Enzo Fernandez, he was the best player on the pitch by a country mile yesterday. He just really stood out, and I think since he joined in January, he's been one of those players that starred. Obviously, Chelsea had a really disappointing season last season, but he looked the most promising player. So to now have someone of Moises Caicedo's quality, you know, we're all talking about him being 21 years old, but already on the way to being world class, alongside someone like Enzo Fernandez. I think it's pretty scary, the levels that those two could get to.
So you two like him, yeah?
We're really enjoying this part of the show, if you hadn't guessed.
Well, I think we've got someone else going to enjoy it as well, because joining us now is broadcaster and Chelsea fan Soraya Shiraz. Good morning to you. How relieved are you that this deal is pretty much done?
I think relieved is the perfect word. It's been a whirlwind few days. Any Chelsea fan across the board can tell you, as you've just heard, how important Moises Caicedo is in this new rebuild. Liverpool, of course, are in the market for a defensive midfielder as well, and swooped in on Friday. We heard from Klopp himself confirm the bid. It was a very scary few days for us. But as I mentioned previously, the new owners, when they want a player, they get the player. So luckily we pulled through. Caicedo stuck to his word. And I think that's testament to the project that we're building at Chelsea, how committed he is in terms that he didn't turn up for his Liverpool medical. So really, really excited about this prospect, and especially after watching the starting 11 of Chelsea yesterday.
So how much do you need, and then how good can he be for you? And in terms of him coming in, might that be all you need now this summer? Could he be the final piece of the jigsaw?
I don't think Caicedo is the final piece of the jigsaw, but I think he's an integral piece of it. His arrival is massive, his attributes. As you've just mentioned, Enzo Fernandez is a world-class midfielder for his very young age, and he needs someone that is able to cover ground, to defend when he pushes deeper and plays deeper in that more advanced role where he thrives and is the Enzo we all know and love. As you mentioned as well, he plays very, very strongly on the turnover when oppositions come in, helps on counter-attacks. And when Caicedo was younger in Ecuador, he also played in an 8. So he's very good at that last pass. He's also very good at linking up play. And he can actually, in this Chelsea squad, get a few goals, I think. Going forward, I think that Enzo and Caicedo partnership sort of reminds me of a Fabregas and Kante type relationship. And I really think this midfield is terrifying to any opponent. For me, going forward as a Chelsea fan, we need a few more attacking options in midfield, but Caicedo is going to walk straight into that starting 11 and prove why he is that fee and why we had to pay that much for him.
Yeah, for all the viewers at home, get in touch, #TransferTalk on Twitter to tell us what you think about Moises Caicedo and the fee as well. But now, in terms of an outgoing, Kepa looks like he's finalising a move to Real Madrid. He's surprised to see him go.
No, I'm not surprised to see him go. Earlier in the window, we sold Mendy, who was the goalkeeper that obviously was on our campaign when we won the Champions League. We put Slonina, who was our young American goalkeeper, to Eupen on loan. For me, he played a few pre-season games, but it became clear when we had Bayern Munich interest that he was ready to go. Of course, Courtois had a knee ligament injury for Real Madrid, and they urgently need a goalkeeper since the league has started. And for me, it's very ironic, actually, since Kepa was brought in 2018 to replace Courtois, and now he's doing the same thing in Real Madrid again. I think for me, he's Spanish, he's going to fit into the squad, he's going to play his minutes, and we can maybe see Kepa back to his best after a disappointing last season. But as a senior player that's been with us since 2018, I do really wish him a lot of luck and hope he can come back next June in a much better shape and ready to come back to Chelsea.
So, right, great to speak to you. Thank you.
Take care. Thank you.
Yeah, so Chelsea fans, get in touch. What do you think about this one? #TransferTalk. And everybody else as well, what do you think about the fee for Moises Caicedo? Liverpool fans, you might not be particularly happy. Let us know on #TransferTalk. Dave, a lot of positivity, understandably, about this deal. But we've been saying ever since these shows started a few weeks ago that Brighton wouldn't budge on their £100 million valuation. Why didn't Chelsea pay £100 million a couple of months ago rather than paying 115 now?
It's an obvious question to ask, isn't it? I think from Chelsea's point of view, they probably thought they were the only ones in the race for Caicedo, and that puts them in a slightly better negotiating position when it comes to trying to get the fee down, if that's what Chelsea were looking to do. Then suddenly we had all the drama of late last week when Liverpool came in with an offer that trumped everybody's, from what we understand, in that late night auction on Thursday night, and then that kind of forced Chelsea's hand into paying the money that Brighton wanted, which at the end of the day is exactly what Brighton wanted. They wanted to extract the biggest fee they could for their player. I mean, Chelsea have spent now £250 million on their double pivot. Value for money.
It's worth it.
I mean, just to try and... The balance side of this is you're paying 115 million or up to 115 million on someone who's not going to get you goals and he's not going to get you assists. I don't mean that as a criticism. I mean that as an observation.
He's right.
It's everything.
But it's everything else.
It's everything else that he offers, which is what makes him worth that money to Chelsea.
Yeah.
And British record fee, will he cope with that extra pressure?
I mean, it's Chelsea, I think, the club, who are going to be under extra pressure rather than the player. When you spent all that money, there's no excuses now for Chelsea. There's no excuses for Mauricio Pochettino. They've spent a ridiculous amount of money, a huge amount of money, an obscene amount of money. And that means...
Is it a lot of money, Dave?
It's quite a lot of money. And that means that they've got to achieve what Chelsea fans expect. Yeah. And what do Chelsea fans expect this season? Top four?
Top four should be the expectation for Chelsea. That Chelsea did make a rod for their own back, though, with the Enzo deal. Because what do you think West Ham did when they were going to the negotiation table with Arsenal? So, like, look at the price that Chelsea paid for a player that's never played in the Premier League before. You want our captain, you're going to have to pay this fee. What do you think Brighton did when they were sitting at the table negotiating for Chelsea for Moises Caicedo? How much do you pay for Enzo Fernandez? We want similar fees. So Chelsea have overpaid for players in January and this summer, and that's just the way it's going to be. It's a crazy amount for a player who doesn't give you goals or assists, but what he does give you is stability, and what he does do is unlock the best players in that Chelsea team.
Yeah, we've got a few tweets in. William Baker says £115 million is a lot of money, but I think in today's game, it's not that relevant. Fernandez was £100 million plus. People forget that price tag, and he says, welcome to the club. Joe says, I feel sorry for Conor Gallagher. Had a really good game yesterday and a good pre-season, but sounds like he'll be pushed out of the team. He did play very well yesterday. And someone who goes by the name of Lionel Messi, I don't think it's him. I think I said he's a brilliant player, but not worth the £115 million. As a Liverpool fan got in touch as well to say that he's worried about this transfer window. He thinks that they need to get 6 in by deadline day, especially having lost Caicedo to Chelsea. But when we were talking about the spending, Kwaku, that Chelsea have done, let's have a look at it since Todd Boehly has come in. That's a lot of players. And look at that total spend there of, not that far £900 million. How many of those have worked out for you, Kwaku?
That seems like a loaded question. Not many of them, but there's still this potential. And when you look at what Chelsea have done, especially in that middle column, when you look at Chukwuemeka, look at Santos, look at Mudryk, Gusto, these are players with upside. If you look at the total spend, £887 million is a lot of money, but Chelsea have also shifted players very well.
I was going to say, it doesn't tell the full story, does it?
Yeah, we need net spend up there.
We need a net spend up there because Chelsea have actually got rid of a lot of players in that time as well. And I think when you see that, yes, it is a ridiculous amount of money. And I think when the takeover happened, I think Chelsea fans were maybe worried that perhaps the ambition might not be there because Chelsea fans were so used to Roman Abramovich and that ambition being so high. But these owners have come in. But as Dave rightly says, that there is no excuses now. I think, I looked at the squad that Chelsea have and the money that they've spent. Adding Moises Caicedo to that, I actually did think before Moises Caicedo, Chelsea would finish in the top 4. I think with Moises Caicedo, Chelsea have to finish in the top 4. But I struggle, other fans looking in going, oh, they spent that much money, they've got to be challenging for the Premier League. Now, before Chelsea signed Moises Caicedo, everyone had them to finish 5th or below. Now, one player, he makes a significant difference, but I don't think you can go from finishing 5th to finishing 1st. But I think finishing in the top 4 is must, and that there is absolutely no excuses now. We've just got to sit there, and these players have got to step up, and they've got to reach that level.
And in fairness, he did say that they have sold a lot of players as well for decent money, and a lot of those players on that list were young players who can go out on loan and generate income, which they've done very well over the past few years as well. So in fairness, you're right. Doesn't tell the full story. Right, reminder of the breaking news this hour. James Ward-Prowse is now a West Ham player. He's joined from Southampton. It's a 4-year deal. More on that to come.
Sky Sports News, sponsored by Shaw Non-Stop Protection.
Have a wow moment when you sell your car with CarWow, where dealers bid to buy your car. All you have to do is accept the best offer. CarWow.
Shine, baby. Shine. Do something about erectile dysfunction at Newman.com.
Don't miss the SCS Summer Sale. You can get the hottest deals, like the Clyde sofa, now less than half price. Or you can take it easy on the floor for only $9.99, saving £350. And feel a brand new carpet between your toes with free fitting. Offers end 14th of August. SCS, helping create the home you love.
If you're busy like me, you can't be slowed down by uncomfortable footwear with no support. So I get all the comfort and arch support I need with Skechers Arch Fit footwear. Try Skechers Arch Fit.
Got a scuff, paintwork scratch, dent or alloy damage? Want it fixed like new? Course you do. It's quick and easy to inquire. Just go to chipsaway.co.uk and enter a few details to get your free no-obligation estimate. One of our nationwide specialists will come to you, or you can go to one of our conveniently located car care centres, and Chips Away will professionally repair the damage, as well as offering a lifetime guarantee. Chips Away, like it never happened.
Here at Zopa, this is what we call lazy money. But we're a bank that knows every penny counts right now. So we give them a boost. Zopa Bank Smart Saver doesn't let your money sit around doing nothing. It builds up interest at a rate you choose. The longer you lock it away, the higher your rate. But let's say you do need to get your hands on some of your money. Nope, there's no fee from us, so your savings keep growing. Boost your savings with Smart Saver from Zopa Bank.
The new Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 5. Share, stream, and flip into action on the UK's best network.
Step out in my fit looking fresh. All of my crew like damn, that's a flex. making moves, yeah, you know how we do. No cares in the world. Kick you back with the
Count on EE to save 240 pounds and get Netflix on selected plans. Plus, when you trade in your old Samsung, you save an extra 576 pounds in any condition.
The screen has been stolen. A theft of this nature is so extraordinary.
He was saying, you can't catch me.
Enjoy more of the latest blockbusters on Sky Cinema with Megan.
Hi, Megan. I'm Katie. It's nice to meet you, Katie.
Your goal is to protect Katie from harm, both physical and emotional.
I won't let anything harm you ever again. Megan! This is the part where you run.
Oh, the door!
Megan, available from the 25th of August on Sky Cinema.
Haley, are you ready for another web-slinging adventure across the Spider-Verse?
Wait. Okay, now we're ready. Want to get out of here?
So wait a minute, there's an elite crew with all the best spider people in it?
You have a choice between saving one person and saving every world.
I'm gonna do my own thing.
All stations, stop Spider-Man.
Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, available now in Sky Store, the Ultimate Movie Collection.
Sky Sports News, sponsored by Shaw Non-Stop Protection.
Welcome back. Now, before we get to West Ham, let's just give you an update on Arsenal. They've got a full agreement for the signing of goalkeeper David Raya from Brentford. He's now completed his medical. He'll sign on loan for £3 million, with Arsenal holding the option to make it permanent for £27 million. It's understood the option will turn into an obligation depending on certain conditions. A formal announcement is expected in the next 24 hours or so. Also from Arsenal, this time an outgoing, a number of clubs are keeping an eye on their left-back Kieran Tierney's situation. Real Sociedad are said to be interested. Tierney was left out of the Arsenal squad for Saturday's 2-1 victory over Nottingham Forest. He does have 3 years left on his contract. So a little update there from Arsenal. But now let's get back to West Ham. They've signed James Ward-Prowse from Southampton for £30 million. What that could mean for West Ham is that Flynn Downs goes in the opposite direction on loan. He's having a medical right now. So, Olivia, just remind us of what Russell Martin, the Southampton manager, had to say on Flynn Downs after the result on Saturday.
Yeah, well, Flynn Downs has worked with Russell Martin and his assistant Matt Gill as well. He worked with Matt Gill at Ipswich, and that's the reason that Russell Martin signed him at Swansea. He was asked after their 4-4 draw with Norwich about him. They said he's aggressive, he's athletic, he's brave, both on and off the ball. And he said, he's spoken really honestly about him. He said he's an outstanding player and he was a fan favourite at Swansea. And I think he expects him to be exactly the same at Southampton. He didn't probably play as much as he wanted to for West Ham in the Premier League last season. I think made 7 starts and then 14 appearances off the bench. But for him to go to the Championship, and it's a brilliant league to be playing in, and to be playing regularly, I think will do the world of good for Flynn Downs and for West Ham and for Southampton. So I think it works out on all parties here.
Yeah, Southampton looking like they're replacing James Ward-Prowse with Flynn Downs there as well. They're also after Mason Holgate on loan from Everton. They're trying to get that deal done, although there is a gap in valuation at the moment. Right, what about Harry Maguire? He's still finalising his exit from Manchester United ahead of a move to West Ham. Everything's in place between the clubs. £30 million deal agreed. Personal terms agreed in principle. Kwaku, does this deal seem to suit everybody, player and both clubs?
It does. The situation in Manchester United is getting awkward for Harry Maguire. He's a player that came in for big money and who was the captain. And if a captain of your club is on the bench and has effectively been stripped of his armband, Bruno Fernandes is now the new Manchester United captain, it's a situation that's untenable and he had to move on. West Ham, I think, suits his profile. He won't be asked to play as expansive football. The line's a little bit deeper. And so he'll be able to show the qualities that made him the £80 million centre-back that he was. At Leicester, he was great at dribbling the ball dribbling the ball out of defence. And he could do that in spits and spurts for West Ham, but that's not what he's going to be asked to do primarily. His main job will be to defend. And we've seen him do that both on the club stage and internationally really well. Harry Maguire's a top defender. He's kind of lost his way a little bit at West Ham or at Man United. But at West Ham, I'm sure that he'll find his way. And this will hopefully secure his place for the Euro 2024 squad.
I really think he just, like you say, Quakey, he just suits the way West Ham play to a T, and it's very similar to what he did at Leicester. I think it's there'll be a lot of defending on the edge of your box, and he's brilliant at that, and I think it's the perfect move for him right now. We know how much Gareth Southgate loves him anyway, because he plays him even when he's not playing for Manchester United. So the fact he can get a run of games in this West Ham side and maybe can refine that confidence, and that can only bode well for Gareth Southgate in England as well.
And be under no illusion as well, the power that Erik ten Hag has at Manchester United. Looks like he's going to move on Harry Maguire, already moved on David De Gea, already moved on Cristiano Ronaldo. These are big names, big players in the history of Manchester United, and they're moving on under Erik ten Hag. He's making moves.
Everton fans who've been in contact throughout the show haven't been too happy this window. However, they will be happy about this one. They've completed a loan deal for Leeds winger Jack Harrison. There's a release clause which can be invoked during the loan spell as well. That's the option to buy. Harrison, though, at the moment, he's currently out injured, expected to be out for 3 or 4 weeks, an international break in that time, so he shouldn't miss too many games. But Everton getting Jack Harrison on loan. Good news for them. Now to Paris Saint-Germain and a massive U-turn for Kylian Mbappe, who will now stay at Paris Saint-Germain this season. In a remarkable twist, he's also expected to sign a new contract. Right, Dave, what was your reaction to that?
I mean, it's quite unbelievable, isn't it, the situation that PSG find themselves in. He turned up at the game, didn't he, Paris Saint-Germain's first game of the season against Lorient. All the cameras, Canal Plus, found him straight away in the tunnel. He went into the dressing room before the game. He was then on the cameras in the stand as well, sitting next to Ousmane Dembele, sitting next to his brother, and then now he's back in training, set to sign a new contract, may not now leave on a free transfer next summer, although we're not too sure on the details of this new contract, whether there would be a release clause in there. Real Madrid's still quiet on the situation. I mean, Florentino Perez, his favourite meal is supposed to be ham, egg and chips. He probably spat out his ham on when he saw the news of the Mbappe U-turn, because, I mean, Real Madrid must be quite miffed. He's positioned himself perfectly for this free transfer to Real Madrid, and now it's all turned round in the space of a couple of days.
OK, well, next summer then, Olivia, when you've composed...
Sorry, I really enjoyed that, Dave. I really enjoyed that.
What's going to happen next summer, though, all right? Because last summer, we didn't expect this to happen this summer. Same again. Is it going to be the same again next summer? We hope not.
Yeah, I mean, it's frustrating. I think we're talking about one of the best footballers in the world in Kylian Mbappe. He needs to be playing in one of the best leagues. He needs to be winning the best trophies, and he's not doing that at PSG. Yes, they win Ligue 1, but they win Ligue 1 every year. He needs to be challenging for Champions Leagues. That's how good this guy is. And to be honest, I think if he's got anything about him, he doesn't sign a new contract and he goes for free to a club like Real Madrid, because he then it's look at Harry Kane. And obviously it's different situations, but look what happened when Harry Kane signed that new contract. It then became increasingly difficult for him to leave because Tottenham was staying really strong on their stance. PSG are going to do exactly the same. They're going to, if Kylian Mbappe signs a new contract, I think it's going to be so difficult for any club to buy him over the next few years. And like I say, I think if he's got anything about him, he plays this season with PSG, and then he goes for free to Real Madrid at the end of this season.
Well, another outgoing from Paris Saint-Germain, big name, because PSG and Al Hilal are close to agreeing a deal for Neymar to join the Saudi Arabian club. Neymar joined PSG from Barcelona in 2017. That was a world record transfer fee of £200 million. Right, loads more still to come. Coming up, we're going to see who stood out for their Premier League debuts this weekend. The panel give you their picks. Plus, we'll hear from Jurgen Klopp on Liverpool's transfer business.
the major one. I think they're a great team, and it's a semi-final. I think whoever you're playing, it's going to be a rivalry. It's going to be an intense game. So for us, I think that's probably one of the last things that we're thinking about.
Can you understand why the rest of the nation back home might see it as a bit more than just a semi-final?
Yeah, I think with what you said with the cricket and the netball, I understand why everyone else feels like that. But for us, it's a semi-final. It's a massive game, regardless of who you're playing.
What did you make of the Bairstow stumping?
Honestly, I didn't see it.
Thanks, we'll go to Simon.
I actually don't know what he's talking about.
All good.
Kira, is it easy when obviously everyone is talking about the rivalry for you guys as a team to block it out, and how do you go about blocking out the noise from the outside?
Yeah, honestly, I didn't really know people were talking about it until David just told me on the way down. I think for us we're all just really focused. I think a lot of us, we're not really on social media, we're not listening to what's going on outside. I think that's what's got us so far in this tournament, is just focusing on what we've got and what we're capable of. And yeah, I think for us, as I said, semi-final, massive game. We don't need to be told about a rivalry and how to get up for the game. I think it's where we want to be.
We saw the other night that Leah was there and you guys saw her afterwards. Is she planning to be in camp at all this week? What was it like to see her, and is that a boost when you're sort of in the business end of the tournament?
Yeah, it's a massive boost, I think, for the team, and to see her supporting us. It's the opposite side of the world. It's not an easy flight. I think it kind of shows, what she feels about this team. And the first time I saw her was actually, she was standing outside my hotel room waving, because, she didn't want to distract us on game day, so she kind of just stood outside and, waved from there. But, I think for us it was nice then, obviously, to get the win and celebrate with her afterwards. I imagine it's not easy for her to watch those games because she would want to be playing in them. So I think for us, we really appreciate her support, and I think it shows what a good character and what a good person she is, that she's able to do that for us.
Was there anything she specifically said, or any stuff she passed on for this week?
I think it was just about being confident and just going and shining and doing what we're capable of. I think she's been in and around it. She knows what this team can do. So it was kind of just that message, and just to believe and try and go as far as we can, really.
Thanks, Simon. Go to the back of the room, and Dan from the BBC.
Thank you. Hi, Kira. Australia are the only team that have managed to beat England since Serena came in. I think 37 matches now. That's the only one she's experienced defeat, and I think you played in that game earlier this year. Does that give your opponents a little bit of a mental edge going into Wednesday?
I think if I put myself in their shoes, not so much. I think a semi-final of a World Cup, I think it's a difficult game. I think, obviously, they can take some confidence from that game, but we weren't at our best, and I'm sure that they're aware of that. And obviously, we've changed a lot since then in shape and players. And I think the momentum that you've got in a World Cup is different. So I imagine that they won't be too focused on that. They know it's going to be a tough game as well. So it's going to be hopefully a good game for the fans to watch.
Clearly, the country is really behind them. The Matildas have gripped Australia, and they came through that extraordinary penalty shootout. They may feel that the fate's on their side after that. But do you think there's also a bit of pressure on them because they're the hosts? And can you exploit that, perhaps?
Yeah, I think first off, I think it's amazing to see for women's football in Australia the amount of support they have got. I think that's probably a bigger picture to speak about than the tournament itself. I think, you can see, they were stopping the AFL games in the news, and I think just in general for women's football, I think that's incredible. But I think there's pressure on both teams. I think, we obviously felt that in the summer having a home Euros, and I think you can see it as pressure. You can also see it as, they've got the support in the stands, but I think there's pressure on both teams. It's a massive game, so I'm sure they won't be focusing on that too much.
Everybody will remember forever, I guess, the Euros final and what you achieved last year. Would reaching a World Cup final here, albeit not on home soil, surpass that? Do you think, what would it be like if you can achieve this on Wednesday evening and get there? Something which England have never achieved before, get to a final.
Yeah, I think it obviously will be a massive result. I think it's hard to compare the two. I think winning a trophy like that on home soil, it's always got a different feel to it. But then again, we're at a World Cup, so I think it's every footballer's dream is to play in a World Cup final. So I think for us, that's obviously the aim, and hopefully we can get the job done on Wednesday.
Thanks, Sam. We'll just go next to you.
Today's huge game in the World Cup semi-final against Australia. More from her to come throughout the day here on Sky Sports News. We've got some breaking news, and it's bad news for Aston Villa, because they've confirmed that Tyrone Mings has sustained what they say is a significant knee injury. The England international was stretchered off after damaging his knee during the first half of Aston Villa's match against Newcastle United on Saturday. He's had scans and will unfortunately require surgery ahead of a lengthy rehabilitation process. So bad injury for Tyrone Mings. He is going to be out for some time at Aston Villa. And Dave, you know the club very well. How much of a blow is that, and does that mean they might have to go into the transfer market?
Massive blow, not just because he's playing the best football of his career under Unai Emery, but simply because of his leadership qualities on the pitch. He's an organiser of that Aston Villa defence. I mean, when you talk about needing another player in, I mean, they brought Pau Torres in as a major summer signing this summer, but Unai Emery said after the game on Saturday evening that they will have to reassess their options now with these injuries, not just Tyrone Mings out, but Emi Buendia on the eve of the season as well. 2 major players. Villa now missing 4 starters, really, when you add Alex Moreno and Jacob Ramsey to that injury list.
Right, bad news there for Aston Villa. Right, let's get to Liverpool, who are again in a transfer battle with Chelsea, this time over the signing of midfielder Romeo Lavia. Both clubs are trying to sign him. The midfielder wasn't part of Southampton's game at the weekend, which was against Norwich. Right, Olivia, you watched Liverpool yesterday. How much do they need Lavia?
Yeah, I then think they just need a defensive midfielder, don't they? I sat here at the start on one of these shows at the start of August saying that I believed he would be a brilliant signing for them. I still do believe that. I think he is quite, he's young. I think he's only 19 and he's still quite a raw player. But having watched Liverpool yesterday, I actually thought Alexis McAllister and Szoboszlai did OK, but you can't have 2 of those players playing together on their own in the midfield. In most games, I don't think. Maybe you get away with it against some of the lesser teams, but I don't think you can be doing that. They just got overrun in midfield. And obviously, we all know they wanted Moises Caicedo and they haven't got him. But I think Romeo Lavia would be perfect for Liverpool. And like I say, it was just glaringly obvious what they were missing yesterday. And I think... Chelsea have got, now they've got Caicedo, they've got Enzo Fernandez, they've got Conor Gallagher, they've got Andre Santos. I don't think Chelsea need Romeo Lavia as well. And I think Liverpool cannot afford to miss out. After they've missed out on Caicedo, they just cannot afford to miss out on Romeo Lavia.
Well, Liverpool fans, we want to hear from you about your transfer business. # transfer talk about the fact that you've missed out on Moises Caicedo. How much do you want Romeo Lavia or anyone else in central midfield, in fact? But Dave, how frustrated do you think Jurgen Klopp might be about the fact that this Caicedo deal hasn't gone Liverpool's way, and now they're also in a battle with Chelsea again for Lavia?
Yeah, I think it is frustrating for Jurgen Klopp. I think that came across in his post-match news conference as well yesterday. I think he'll be even more frustrated if Chelsea nip in and then get Romeo Lavia. Don't laugh.
I'm not. I just think it's. Yeah, I don't know. I think it would be silly for Chelsea to go and get Lavia as well.
I mean, we can't rule it out.
And for the player as well. I just think with all of those options in Chelsea's midfield, Romeo Lavia, if he goes to Liverpool, is probably going in and starting in that number 6 role because they haven't got anyone else.
I think that's part of the problem, though. Do you not think that Liverpool, if they do manage to get this deal over the line for Lavia, a 19-year-old, 20-year-old starting at the base of their midfield, week in, week out, a player who's still developing, who's still learning his game, who's going to be competing at the highest level. When teams play against Liverpool, they set up to defend. They set up in a different way. And for a player who's now currently playing for a championship team, who's had 1 year Premier League football, it's a lot of pressure to put on him.
It felt to me like Liverpool maybe lacked a little bit of control yesterday. They had 35% possession. I was looking back, they've only had a lower possession percentage once in the last 5 years. So it felt like they lacked a little bit of control in that midfield. Whether Romeo Lavia will be able to bring that to the team, that's for Jurgen Klopp and Liverpool to decide. But from what we understand anyway, Chelsea, rock-solid interest in Romeo Lavia as well.
I think Liverpool will be even more frustrated because they don't usually bid that much money. The most they've paid for a player in the Premier League is 86 million for Darwin Núñez. So the fact they've gone way above what they usually would, 115 million pounds for Liverpool. I mean, it's a lot for any club, but we've seen Chelsea do it, we've seen Arsenal do it around the 100 million pound mark, City as well. But Liverpool don't do that. So the fact they've done it and still missed out and it still wasn't enough is going to be that's just another layer of frustration for Jurgen Klopp and Liverpool.
Yeah, well, I mean, we discussed it earlier there, but Liverpool, it did look like they were going to win the race for Moises Caicedo, but the player turned down a move to the club in favour of Chelsea. This is what Jurgen Klopp had to say about that move, and he couldn't help but have a little dig towards the club.
Caicedo and Lavia, it seems that both clubs are interested. Is there anything you can say to enlighten people on what may or may not happen?
Where's the camera? No.
You do need more players? He wants more players.
Oh, yeah, obviously that's what each Chelsea manager wants, and usually they get it. So, yeah. I don't know, I can nothing to say about that, to be honest.
So when Chelsea want to play, they usually get them. Jurgen Klopp saying there. By the way, earlier on hashtag transfer talk, a Liverpool fan said that they want 6 players in between now and deadline day. Mark Edwards has been in touch to say Lavia has got to be the start of 3 to 4 players coming in. So he's saying they need 4 or 5 between now and then. So it looks like Liverpool fans are wanting quite a lot of business to be done, and it does look like midfielders is their main focus, Kwaku.
Definitely. You look at the midfield of McAllister, Szoboszlai and Gakpo, and there's not a holder there, there's not a sitter there, and we've talked about it in terms of what Liverpool needed. It was glaringly obvious what both teams needed yesterday, and it was Caicedo.
One more than the other, though, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was. I think it was obvious that Liverpool perhaps needed that 6 more than Chelsea, just because I think Conor Gallagher played so well with Enzo in that position.
100%, and you're asking McAllister to do a different type of job, and he can do that role, but that's not the reason why you spent that much money on him. So I think with Liverpool, and you saw the option they brought off the bench as well. If you look at Curtis Jones, who's still a developing player, you've got Harvey Elliott, who's even younger than Curtis Jones, who's 20 years old. It tells you that Liverpool need to strengthen in midfield, and after letting Fabinho and Henderson go, and probably unexpectedly, they probably weren't expecting to get those fees for those players at that stage of their careers. It just tells you in the highlights where Liverpool needs to strengthen, and you need to do it pretty quickly as well, because Liverpool fans have got lofty ambitions. We're seeing them text in about what they need and their fears about this season. Liverpool, if they go into the next few weeks without a sitting or a holding midfielder, there could be a troubling couple of months for Liverpool.
Yeah, someone has actually got in touch to say, just talking about midfields in general, saying it's hard to decide which Premier League club has got the best midfield. They've thrown in Newcastle in there, they've thrown Arsenal, Chelsea, and always Manchester City too. So that's a key area for any club, of course, and some absolutely brilliant combinations in the Premier League at the moment. Right, next we'll have the latest from Manchester United. Could Benjamin Pavard be joining the club? Have a look back at the weekend's football, and we've asked the team for their debut picks. So who stood out, who were making their debut over the weekend? Not just in the Premier League, although, Quaker, you have gone for a Premier League new signing.
I have. James Maddison, he's a player that I highlighted before the season started as a player who's going to give you numbers. This is a Spurs team that we expected Kane to leave. Obviously, it's not the same kind of Spurs team that we've seen for the last 3 or 4 years. They've got different ambitions. Ange Postecoglou is a great manager, and he's going to bring the best out of a player like James Maddison. And he had a good debut. Got an assist. It was a great assist for Romero from a set piece. I expect to see more of that set piece from James Maddison. Bit more of a free role and a bit more of a leader as well. It was interesting to see Son went off and Romero went off, and he had the armband. Number 10 with the armband at Spurs. It's not Harry Kane, it's James Maddison. I think he's going to have a very good season this year. He's going to give you some numbers, despite the fact that I don't think Spurs will maybe get to lofty heights they had done in previous years.
Yeah, it's a bit of a problem with the graphics here, but what it was going to say was a mark out of 5 stars that you gave his debut. What was it, Kwaku?
I'll give him a 3 out of 5. There's always room to improve, and Spurs didn't win. He didn't score either, but he got an assist. So 3 out of 5, I think, is a fair rating for James Maddison on his Spurs debut.
You'll be raging at that, Kwaku. 3 out of 5 for that debut. I think officially it actually might have been 2 assists as well, although, I understand what you're saying with the second one. Dave, you've stayed in the Premier League as well.
Yeah, I mean, if Kwaku's going to get grief, I'll probably get grief as well, because I've gone for Sandro Tonali and I've given him 4 stars out of 5. Wow. And the only reason I've not given him 5 out of 5 is because I think he can get better.
Because you support Villa. It was against Villa.
Because I think he can get better. I mean, it was undoubtedly the best debut of the weekend. I think only beaten by the debut of my cardigan today, I'd say. He was absolutely everywhere in that midfield, Sandro Tonali. I think joint most pressures, at a goal, assist, runs into the box, a real complete performance. Jamie Redknapp said it was one of the best debuts he'd seen in the Premier League. Alan Shearer, I think, called it the perfect midfield performance. And just a wider point on Newcastle, really. Eddie Howe, I mean, I feel like there have been similarities between early days Jurgen Klopp at Liverpool and that Eddie Howe side. I think that goes out the window now. Been a lot of talk about Liverpool Reloaded. Heard a lot of Liverpool Reloaded over the weekend. I didn't see that at Stamford Bridge. I saw Liverpool Reloaded at St James's Park. Newcastle have doubled down on the way they play, and they are going to be very, very strong this season.
It's a lovely cardigan, Dave. It's a lovely cardigan. But Olivia, you've gone further afield for your debut.
Yeah, I've gone Jude Bellingham, and I've actually given him a 5 out of 5 because I think in terms of debuts, especially playing for a club like Real Madrid, couldn't have really gone any better for him. I think his price tag was a lot, but no one's really talking about it because it's Jude Bellingham and everyone knows he's probably already worth that money. Got a man of the match performance against Athletic Bilbao in a 2-0 win. Rodrigo scored the first. He had a great understanding with Rodrigo, a great understanding with Valverde. So he scored the second goal as well. And everyone will have seen it, but there was this bit of play where he picked up the ball in his own half, skipped past 2 or 3 Bilbao players and ended up on the edge of his box. And it was a complete performance. Athletic Bilbao, I think the stadium can be quite difficult for people to play in sometimes. And Jude Bellingham, as always, made it look easy. He was absolutely everywhere.
When he stood there with his arms stretched, it just screamed Galactico.
Yeah, it screams Real Madrid. Like, he is perfect for Real Madrid. And, you know, his career is just going to go up and up and up from here. Brilliant.
He'll always be in the shadow of his brother, of course, Joe, who's been starting and playing very well the last few weeks. Right, OK, so you went 3-star Maddison, 4-star Tonali, 5-star Bellingham.
Yes.
OK, right, we might revisit this at lunchtime. But Harry Kane is now a Bayern Munich player. What an end to the week it was. He made his debut at the weekend, didn't go to plan as his new side lost 3-0 to RB Leipzig in the German Super Cup. Right, I'm going to ask all of you this, because we've talked so much about Harry Kane over the last few weeks. Did you actually think this deal was going to get done?
I can't even remember what I was thinking. It's been such a saga. I think one day I think it's going to happen, the next day not. The difference between this summer and previous summers is that Harry Kane was very calm in the situation. I think if this deal didn't get over the line, he would have been more than happy to stay at Spurs and then explore his options next summer. But Bayern Munich were very vocal in their pining for Harry Kane, and they were aggressive in their approach, and they got the deal done. It's unfortunate we saw pictures of him there coming on for his debut that they lost in the German equivalent of the Community Shield. But what I would say is that when he does eventually get that proverbial monkey off his back, it'll be a proper trophy. I feel like if he had broken that duck by winning that trophy, it wouldn't have been the same. But I think as England fans here, we can all say that we're happy for Harry Kane that he's finally got to move to a club that can challenge for trophies.
Yeah. Did you think it was going to happen, Olivia? Were you less confident?
there is video evidence of me on this show saying that I thought that Harry Kane was going to go this summer, and that was only my opinion. I just looked at the situation that Harry was in before, and I just thought Daniel Levy would sell this summer. I think the risk of letting him go for free next summer to any club of Harry Kane's choice was too big, and this was the last time they were going to get anywhere close. 100 million for a player who's nearly 30 or might just be 30 and had a year left on his contract. I think it was the perfect time. Yes, it's difficult for Spurs, but actually under Ange Postecoglou, I think they looked pretty good against Brentford, and I think all those other players in there, I think Spurs will be all right. I think that man's the right man for them right now in Ange Postecoglou, and I think it was the right move for Harry Kane, and I did always think that he would go, and yes. Sat here being proved right.
Well,
I'm enjoying it.
I didn't think he was going to go, Dave.
I feel a bit like Quaker. I can't really remember what I say from one day to the next. I think I did think it was going to happen because the bottom line was that it made business sense. I did have a wobble, though, and I remember saying it was when we saw the Bayern Munich officials arrive at the airport, get on the plane and come over for those talks with Daniel Levy in London. I just felt a bit staged to me, and I wasn't sure whether Bayern were just positioning themselves to say, look, we tried really hard, look, we went on the plane, we got there, we had the talks, but we couldn't quite get the deal done. But Bayern Munich showed their commitment and ended up getting it done.
They did. He is now a Bayern Munich player. Now, Manchester United are ready to accelerate talks with Bayern Munich for Benjamin Pavard. Initial contact has been made, but no formal offer. They're also interested in Nice defender Jean-Claire Todibo. But as for Pavard, Kwaku, why him?
He plays for one of the best teams in the world in Bayern Munich. He's played consistently for them as well. And multifaceted centre-backs / full-backs are all the trend at the moment. If you look at Man City signing Vardio, or Man City signing Akanji, Ake, or Timber, or Ben White, who've been signed by Arsenal, versatile centre-backs / right-backs are very valuable to teams because that means that if there is an injury to certain positions, they can cover. So I understand why Pavard is of interest in Manchester United, especially as they're unsure about their right-back options in Wan-Bissaka and Dalot.
Yeah, well, Fred has gone. He's completed a move from Manchester United defender Bachi, subject to international clearance. His fee is £8.6 million plus 4.3 in add-ons. 3 unnamed Premier League clubs are interested in Udinese midfielder Lazar Samardic. He was on the verge of signing for Inter Milan, a deal worth €20 million, only for that move to break down after the parties couldn't agree terms. He had his medical yesterday, and Lens and Ajax have agreed a fee in the region of £10 million for Middlesbrough striker Chuba Akpom. Personal terms won't be a problem. He's now deciding on his next move and is leaning towards Ajax at the moment. Right, loads still to get through this afternoon, but tomorrow morning, Good Morning Transfers will be back. That is at 9 o'clock in the morning. I can just tell you, you don't need to see it. 9 o'clock, and you know that anyway. On a Monday, remember, now that the season has started, Transfer Talk, rather than being midday till 1, it's 1 till 2, and we're joined by European football expert Kevin Hatchard. The Transfer Show at 5 o'clock and at 7 p.m. as well. But next, it's the return of the Football Show. Stephen Warnock and Sue Smith, and also Ref Watch returns too.
Shaw non-stop protection.